Okay, the next topic, the if statement. Well, so far what we have learned is, well, we have a sequence of the code, and then we only know that Python will execute the code line by line by line as a pipeline, right? So it's kind of boring because we don't know how to handle conditions, and now we're going to learn that. And for if and else, and usually we want to check some condition, and based on the condition is true or false, we may behave differently. We may ask the code to do something different. Okay, and then the syntax of if is quite simple, and we only talk about if first. So that is the keyword is a if, and then after the if, and then we want to test a specific condition. So here usually there is a Boolean expression. So if this condition gives you a true, and then what you will do is you will enter a body of a code block. So how do I know it is a code block? Remember, well, we talked about the colon before, right? So if it is a colon, and this means I want to tell Python, now I'm starting a new code block. And that is the statement 1, statement 2, or you can have as many statements as you want to. And you may ask, what if the condition, the test condition is a false? And you can see on the right side. On the right side, that is if the condition is true, and then we are going to execute a bunch of the statements. And otherwise, if we follow this line down, we do nothing, right? So that is if the condition is true, and then we are going to do a bunch of statements, and otherwise we do nothing. And this is what a single if statement can do for us. Okay, and then, well, let's see the first example. If 4 is greater than 3, we are going to print it is true that 4 is greater than 3, right? So, well, if and then a Boolean expression, and if this Boolean expression is true, and in this case it is, and then we are going to print this one. And don't remember the colon, okay? And then if this condition is not true, what are we going to do? If this condition is in the opposite, like 2 greater than 3, and then what are we going to have? We will have nothing printed, right? Because this condition is a false. Since this condition is a false, and then this code block won't be executed, so we get nothing. Okay, let me reverse that. And then the next example, a equals 10, so that's a new variable, and then if a equals 10, and then we will print a equals 10, and otherwise we do nothing. Okay, and here is a little bit additional information you have to know. Well, this can be handy or it can be confusing depending on how it is used. So we know for the if condition, here we expect a Boolean expression, right? But why do we have a 1 here? Well, here's a rule in Python. Well, if you see an expression is to be evaluated as a true or false, well, true, a Boolean true will be evaluated as a true. A non-zero number will be evaluated as a true. A non-empty string or a non-empty any other data type will all be evaluated as a true. Okay, so here I put a 1 here, and you may say that is a syntax error. But no, there's no syntax error here. Why? Because Python knows this place is supposed to be a Boolean expression. But I have a 1 here. Since 1 is a non-zero number, that 1 will also be considered as a true. So you may ask, what values will be considered as false? So a Boolean false will be considered as a false. A 0 will be considered as a false, and none, which is a special value we haven't talked about, will be considered as a false, and empty string, empty list, empty any data type will be considered as a false. So, Well, let me try to give you some example. Say, okay, let me write. Say my bank balance equals. Say I'm very poor. I only have $0.9. Okay, and then if my bank balance, and then print, you still have some money. Cheer up. And okay, and then you will see my bank balance is supposed to be float value, right? And then if a float value, and then PyCharm doesn't raise any issue for that. And then let me run this code. And then I do have, you still have some money, cheer up. So why? Because if a float number, and then Python will check whether this float number is a 0 or not. And if it is a 0, and then it will be skipped. Otherwise, this value, even though it is 0.9, it will still be considered as a true. So this line or this block will still be executed. Okay? So let's move on. And how about we add the else? So now we have two branches, the if branch and the else branch. And then for both of the branches, they have colons. So if a condition and then a colon. And then else, another colon. What do they mean? They mean for the if, we start a code block. And then under else, we start another code block. So the structure will be like this. So based on the condition true or false, we will go to one block or another block. And then eventually, it doesn't matter if we finish one block or another block, and then we will continue. Okay? So let's see some of the examples. So if 3 greater than 4, and then we print 3 is larger than 4, and else. So that is another branch. And then we print 3 is not larger than 4. So for either way, we will have a code block, and it will guarantee that we can have something printed, right? And then how about the next one? So if a pair of empty curly braces, what is that? That means that is an empty set. You only need to know that is something empty. If it is something empty, what does that mean? That will be evaluated as a false. Okay, so if and then a empty set, and then well, if you know that it is false, and then we will go to the else, and then we will print a false, right? Okay, so I want to continue this example. How about I add a else here? So else, and then print. You now have big trouble. Okay, so now this program is kind of finished. So well, I define a my bank balance, and then well, I say if the bank balance is not a 0, and then I will say you still have some money, cheer up. And otherwise, well, I will print now you have big problem. So how do you like about this code? So I see a problem. Well, how about I give you this? My bank balance is negative. What does that mean? That means I don't have any money, and then I have debt, right? So let's run this program again and see what do we have. It will still tell me you still have some money, cheer up. Is that correct? I have no money and I have some debt. So what's wrong? How do I fix this code? I should do this. If my bank balance is greater than 0, it can be 1 cent, it can be 5 cents, but it has to be a positive value. As long as it is a positive value, and I will say you still have some money, cheer up. Otherwise, I will print you now have big trouble. So okay, I'm gonna keep my balance as a negative value. Now let me run this again, and then you see now you have big trouble. Okay, so that is correct. So I see a small issue, and then I have also fixed my code. Okay, now a very small exercise. Well, what does the following code print? So if 4 plus 5 greater or equal to 10, we print true, otherwise we print a false. What are we gonna get? So think about the operator precedence first. We process the arithmetic operators. Then we handle the comparison operators, right? So in this case, which are we going to handle first? We are going to handle the addition or the comparison. Addition, because that is an arithmetic operator. And then 4 plus 5 will give you a 9, and 9 greater or equal to 10 will give you a false. So in the false, since the condition is a false, what do? We are going to go to the else branch, and the else branch will print a false. So eventually we will get a false, right? So okay, I know we haven't finished everything with the if and else condition, but this is the content I have prepared for today. And well, later I will post another video talking briefly about the day 5 exercise.